Hi, and thank you so much for joining me today for another sketch from 30 Days of Sketches with Christie's Beautiful Life, round 15. And today's sketch is by the lovely Miss Carrie. So I've decided to use my Joyful Notes collection for this layout, and I'm scrapping 2 photos of Amelia from Monday. It was her 17th birthday, and it's just of her blowing out the candles on her cake. So no doubt you'll see another video coming very soon of James blowing out the candles on his cake. So I decided to pull these 2 papers out. I really love that stripy paper, and I like the sage green daisy. I made a bit of a boo-boo doing this strip. I, for some reason, thought that I was using the other side and thought that the angle of the paper was wrong. So started to tear it off and then realised that I had it the wrong way around, and it was fine. But it was okay. I'd torn plenty, so there's still enough to show underneath that green strip. So all was not lost. So rather than adding straight lines as Miss Carrie has in that sketch, I am using torn edges for the top pieces of paper and adding slightly more than she has in hers. But I am going to create those fishtail banners that she's got going underneath her photos using the same papers, but I'm just using the reverse of the sage green daisy paper for the main banner rather than using more of that stripy paper. I'm a little bit precious when it comes to my stripy paper, and I really like using it for tucking under torn edges, so I'm going to save that for another day. And I did really like the florals on the other side as well. I didn't want to have too many florals on the papers because I am going to use some of the ephemera on this page. So as I mentioned, it's Amelia's birthday photos, and this collection came to mind straight away because I knew that there were a few pieces with happy birthday on them. So I'm not actually using the foam sticker that says happy birthday. I've gone with the one that says celebration, which you'll see soon. I'm saving the happy birthday one for James's layout because it's more blues and I think it will suit his photos a little bit more. So I'm just using water to curl up the edges, the torn edges of that paper, and then I'm just layering them underneath one another at the top of the page there. And then I'll work on the fishtail banners, and pretty soon I realised that I need to mirror this sketch because my photos, Amelia's looking to the right, so I wanted the photos on the left hand side. So I think it's at this point that I realised that, and I switched them over, so that's much better for me. So just adding the fishtail, you saw how I did that. I just chopped the end off the paper, and then I'm folding it in half without actually creasing it and just chopping a triangle out of the centre. That's the easiest way I find to do fishtail banners on big pieces. Smaller pieces, you'll see I tend to cut a slit up the middle and then join from the end point of the paper up to the top of the slit. So that's 2 ways that I found of creating these fishtail banners that look nice and symmetrical. So just using my edge distresser to distress the edges of these papers, just so that they're in keeping with those torn edges at the top of the page as well. I didn't want to have nice neat edges when I had such grungy edges at the top of the page, so that was the reason for distressing these. And then I'm just going to layer them down here. Now I do have to faff about a little bit because I stick the yellow one down. I just put tape down the middle of it and pop it down here, but then when I try and tuck the other one underneath, the tape's in the way, so I do have to pull it up in a little bit. But using my T-square ruler just to check that it's straight on the page, and yep, adding more tape to the end just to make it even harder to pull up. So you can see there it's really not lifting too much, and then the ATG tape from the daisy paper gets stuck. It becomes a little bit of a situation, but I'll get there in the end. So I'm just going to pull this one up and move it down slightly so that it's overlapping that green one a little bit more, and that's like Miss Carrie's sketch as well. Almost there. Yeah, I did a really good number on this, pushing it down well to make sure it's secure, but I managed to sort it out there. So I'm just bringing in some scrap white card now to add the photo to. Well, photos, I should say, and I'm just going to use my scissors to cut those out, leaving a small white border around the edge. So second one, just tucking over the ATG tape that had gone over the edge. And there we go, just trimming those edges down. I do love this series of photos, and I'm trying to get better at taking more than just one photo so that I can add more than one to the page if I want to. So now coming in with these directions stamps from Hey Little Magpie, I just wanted to bring some colour into the page, so I'm going to match up my inks two of those colours in the stripy paper. So first of all, I'm going to go in with this yellow, and this is, I think it's fossilised amber that I used. There. Should have left the lid right side up, couldn't I? And then we could have seen, it's either fossilised amber or scattered straw, but I'm pretty sure it was fossilised amber. Oh, there we go. Yes, you can see it there. And then I'm coming in with the pink, which is worn lipstick, I think. I can't see it very well on my screen. It's quite a small screen. And I'm just overlapping those, and I've just used a paper towel just to wipe off the excess ink each time I've changed the ink there. And then I'm going to bring in a blue, which is Salvage Patina. And most of this will be covered up at the end, but it just adds an interest in the background, and it does peek through the bits that I pop on top. And with these stamps, you just don't apply too much pressure. The ink transfers really easily onto the page. They are lovely to use. And they're Hey Little Magpie exclusives, designed by me. So now I've got used that stamp, I'm going to go in with another one. This is the diagonal stripe, and I picked up the chipped sapphire ink here just to mimic the navy blue that are in these that's in these papers. So I'm adding a strip at the bottom there, and then another one at the top. And then when that's down, I realise that I want to go a little bit further up behind the photo, so I'm going to bring in my archival ink in black and just bring in some of the smaller stamps just to add a few more arrows above those lines. Just touching it down lightly, and it gives a really nice crisp image. So just want to bring a little bit down to the bottom as well. And that's that done. So now I'm going to work on embellishing. So I know I want a tab at the top. Miss Carrie's got some tags, and I do bring one tag in, but then I add a tab next to it just to mimic those bits that she's got at the top of her photos. And then I'm just going through all the ephemera pieces. I've got a couple of different packs all mixed up here in my envelope that I just keep with the collection. I find this lovely ticket, which is going to go at the top with some florals on it, and then decide that I want to add foam pads behind my photos before I go any further. So these are the Sticks 225mm foam pads. They come on a huge roll, and I just cut them up. A friend told me to do this into lengths of 6 and put them in one of those photo boxes. These are 4x6 photo boxes, and they just fit perfectly in there. And it just keeps everything neat and tidy, and then I keep the roll on my shelf separately. So just getting those stuck down. They're going to be offset against each other ever so slightly. The left-hand side one is more or less up against the left-hand side of the page. And then realising that I can cut that tag down to save the other bit for another day. And I'm just placing things at the moment because I know what I'm like. I will find more things to add, so just moving things around. So straight away, look, I see that lovely stamp with the gold edge, so I want to add that to the top. So this is that title that I was talking about. It says Celebration. So I'm just going to chop it off so that I can work out exactly where I want to put it. And it does go down at the bottom there. I did try it on the side, but it definitely works better at the bottom here. So I'm going to overlap all those papers and just stick all that down. And then underneath, I'm going to use that Happy Times as well. So there's a little bit of a gap on the left-hand side, so I decided to bring in one of the foam flowers to fill that gap. And also this little gold heart, which I just sort of almost leave to one side for now, and I will find a place for that shortly. I like that little die cut that says Happy Birthday, so I'm thinking about using that. But first of all, like I say, I'm going to put that Happy Times down, and it's when I've got that down that I realise that gold heart is going to work really nicely at the end of that. So I'm just trying some florals now. I want to bring in a cluster like Miss Carrie has in the sketch, and I'm trying different things, but none of them are really working for me. So in the end, I build my own cluster with some of the smaller florals, but I do cut the white edge. I think it was the white edge on these that was putting me off. It just looked really cumbersome. So I grab a few florals and a vellum floral as well and stack those up next to one another. And like I say, I'll just spend a little bit of time off camera fussy cutting around those white edges. So start with this one. Doesn't take long, And I'm not being too precious about how I cut them. But there you can see that's going to be the cluster around that die cut that says happy birthday. So I just want to add a few more things. I'm going to look for a little circular floral, which I find here. And once again, I want to cut that white edge off. And then I can just stick it out to the right hand side of that happy birthday piece. And then I find this lovely foam floral, which is just going to tuck underneath the photo there and fill in that gap nicely. So just adding a couple of dots of glue to these flowers. I want them to be able to be raised off the page and add some dimension. So just adding a little bit, and I'll curl up those edges after. Just repositioning everything. Get it all stuck down. So while I'm doing this, please don't forget to check the description box down below to see everybody else who's joining in on this hop. There's a playlist. Everybody adds their videos to whenever they create one. So that playlist is growing every day. And there's a plethora of things to watch. It will give you hours of viewing and they're great fun. It's lovely to see how everybody creates with the same sketch. So just adding a bit more glue to make sure that everything's secure. And then I find this little vellum piece, so I want to add that to the top here as well. And I do need to add some ribbon to that tag. I've not forgotten that, but first of all I'm going to go through the 6x12 stickers and just see if there's anything I can add. And there are these lovely little circular floral stickers that I'm just going to add in that tiny gap next to the happy birthday there, and then one to the right hand side just to mirror what I've done there. And then another little floral in pink underneath the happy birthday title, just there. So I do want to bring in the fact that Amelia is 17. So first of all, I'm going to do some journaling of what we did that evening, and then add the numbers 17 from the foam alphabet thickers. I decided to add these on top of the florals. It works really nicely because it's not too obvious, but it is there. Really pleased with how that turned out. So now I need to add my date, so I'm just going to stamp that onto some scrap white cardstock. If you've watched my videos before, you'll know that this is my favourite MO. Just stamping it onto cardstock and then adding it to the tab above or to the side of the photo, wherever I've chosen to put that tab. So there we go, 17th of June 2024. And then this is the American seam binding from Hey Little Magpie that I'm just going to add to that tag and leave to flow down the right hand side of the page. And then once I've sorted that out, and I just add a couple of dots of glue, you'll see me doing that, just a wet glue to hold it in place. It's still flowing fairly freely, but it'll stay in position when I put it in the page protector. So just use my Nuvo Deluxe adhesive to do that. It's a particularly scrunched up piece, this one, so I'm just having to flatten it out slightly. I do love the creases that you get from this seam binding. And then the last thing to do for me is to add some gold splatters with a gold watercolour paint. So just using a very small brush and keeping those tight around the edges of the photo and embellishments. And that's it. Thank you so much for joining me. I shall see you very soon. Bye.